Testing, testing. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bitcoin Analytica. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about this crash we had and what's going on right now. Hope everyone's having a great day. And yeah, let's get to it. Hope to see you guys in the comments here. Um, so, all right. I have a couple questions in Discord that I'll get to first. Let's pull this up. Where are we? Okay, so from here's Johnny. How do the signals look for holding? The signals look pretty strong. I mean, they're looking real good down here. We had some good trades even from this, made money. This is early in the morning. And I exited about 30% of my position and I stacked back up down here. So starting here, I started stacking back up and I think this is a good place. My average entry is probably somewhere around here right now, so I'm underwater. But this is still a good point to have added to my position. I I'm confident that things are going to roll back around and bring us to probably this full retrace range, the low 27s, and I'm assuming this is probably the 50-day moving average right here. We're going to take a look at that right now. And yeah, 100% that's right where we are. Stopped right at the 50-day moving average, and it looks like we're not really going to break through. We really have a solid foundation here. A lot of orders in this range, so I'm thinking things look really good. What's up, DB Ryder? Thanks for joining, my friend. Um, all right, so it's pretty good. I really think that we're gonna play this bounce between 200-day intermediate term and long-term moving averages, in addition to the short-term moving average. It looks like we're gonna be playing this little range on the daily for a little while. We couldn't break above the 200. I'd assume we have similar strength on this moving average. Since we're playing these moving averages so well, I'm gonna think that we're gonna be ping-ponging back and forth a bit here. And yeah, so back to this, and let's just get to some chilling and any questions you guys may have. Um, I'm just hanging out, so feel free to ask anything, and me and Fabian will be doing a show here in a bit too. So, what's up, Cass Bundy? I hope the volume's okay today. Yesterday I was wearing my hoodie, so probably that was what was holding back the mic a bit. All right. So looking at this now, though, a little curious as to why perps are bearish right now, and even bearish at this point in time. Almost bearish overall for the past day or so, I should say. Looks like it was yesterday evening that we really flipped bearish. I'm wondering if it just has to do with shredding the book, but if we were going to shred the book and go bearish, that's a little funky to me. Usually when you push down into support, you get more bullish. Um, the opposite happened. Bears got more bearish. So I'm curious to see who this affects more. Max pain is to the upside and consensus is to the downside in the perp markets. So that's an interesting scenario here where as spot markets are stacked heavily with liquidity. So I'm really liking what I see, and but I'm just really curious about perp markets. I wonder why they're pushing so hard to the downside. Plus we got this really thick wall here at the top of the book for the sellers. 235 pack leading the charge in the 26,800 range. It's a really curious situation. I wonder why people are so bearish. It could be the war, could be the events going on in the Middle East that are causing some sort of uncertainty, but again, that doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why people would be bearish about Bitcoin when there's a war. I don't get it. I mean, in a war situation, why would something like Bitcoin crash when it's probably one of the most useful devices you have to be able to move around with your assets, your money, and get out of places like that? You can take your Bitcoin on a small device and disappear from the country and set up shop anywhere else. Impair it, because money will flow into oil. Yeah, I get the investment side of that, but the money side of it is you can't really run from one place to another with stocks. You can certainly, sell your stocks and transfer money and all that, but Bitcoin is a way for you to cross borders without having to worry about any of that stuff. You can go to, if you have enough Bitcoin, you can just disappear from that place and buy a cheap apartment for a while and hang tight. Whereas in that's money that's custodial, whereas stock money is not custodial. In fact, we saw on Binance that they're freezing Palestinian accounts and stuff like that. So the custodial element of Bitcoin is what makes it such a strong asset, and the self-custodial element of that, I should say. So that's why I don't see Bitcoin getting nuked in a war scenario. I do see assets moving up and down, oil, arms, manufacturers, and stuff like that probably going up, and things associated with war going up. And then I feel like Bitcoin should really be on its own level. Again, if you're trying to flee, you don't want fiat currency necessarily. What if you're going to flee with the native fiat currency of that area to go to Europe? It's not going to do much good for you. Or Bitcoin, you can go somewhere else and have a friend set up an account and you can liquidate your crypto, or if not, pay directly in your Bitcoin or whatever to for your sustenance needs. So I don't really understand why Bitcoin would crash in a war scenario. I just think I don't know. I think if anything, it's the fact that it would be paired to other assets that's causing a crash, putting Bitcoin in a still speculative asset zone. Uh, that's the only thing I see that makes sense right now. So let's see here. And then Senalito commented in Discord at about an hour ago. I was confident we'd see a massive break and retest of the 30 to 31K resistance, but if this war gets bigger, perma bears might see their day. Um, I I would say I'm confident that we're gonna play a channel for a long time. I think we found our channel low, 25K, maybe just above, and we spent a little bit of time at these peaks, 30K and this 30K area with a high of just under 32 it looks like. So I can see that playing out, being our channel high end, and you know, us having to grind our way back. You know, we have a couple taps down low, a little bit of a grind up high, a lot of this grind right here. So this is definitely a strong area. So right now what I see is a very technical play out from the moving averages. It means a lot less emotion is probably going on right now, and maybe this was inevitable. This is a pretty big candle for it to have happened, and it was basically two impulses down. Here's our grind. So here's our safety net. These are the smarter sellers, these are the dumber sellers, and we immediately landed to that safety net. So I think we're going to bounce back up. I don't see any reason for this to keep pushing. I don't think war is a good enough reason in the Middle East of all places, and I can't imagine that volume out there is even comparable to European, Asian, or American volume. I just don't see that. So I'm kind of curious about this. So um I think the move to 31, 32, let's say 30 to 31K, I think it's on the table. It's October, November, December. Um, I think it is on the table. I don't really know 100% when that would happen because we've really spent a lot of time in the gutter here. We fell out of that area with a bang, so I think the psychology of that area as resistance is very strong right now. So I think we start to play the low end of a range for a while, which we seem to be doing. This is about the median of the range, right? 28K makes a lot of sense, the median of the range. And what happens when you play a range, we could probably pull this out over here. This might not even be a great example, but you play at different levels of a range for a while. 25 is the low, and I think let's just say for this argument's sake, this is our range. Well, this is approximately the median of that range. So what you do is you kind of play up here for a bit, and then you cut down and you play down there. I'm sure if I drew this thing all the way back, we would see it must have been a long time since we had hit that range. But if we pull this back, we would probably see that we spent a lot of time down there, spent a lot of time above it, and that's how ranges tend to work. And I really like to have a median in my ranges when we're channeling sideways, because you kind of play up on top side, you play on the bottom side, and that could go for a range even angled upward. I always draw a median when I see a channel. So low end, high end, median right here seems to be what we're doing. I'll draw it out for the people in the audience here. Low end, high end, and where's the middle? Right around here is approximately the middle. No, that's probably a little high. Draw this thing down here a bit more. Maybe that's low. That looks about right. So you can see we spent time on the top half, we spent time on the bottom half, and that's how things are probably going to play out. I think until the halving, minus what I think is coming toward us is a black swan event at some point, to test the CME gap that we have down at 20,000 to 19,000. So that would be this area. And I think that's very possible. We create a CME gap, or we close a CME gap that's down here during a black swan event, and run the pipe back up into to slowly and gradually, ideally without leaving any further CME gaps, back into this range, similar to what happened to us in this COVID crash. Slow kind of rebuild back into the main zone. But that took probably a month or two from March up until, let's say, April before we made it back into that range and got a bit certain about it. So yeah, I think that's what a Black Swan event will look like. Something similar to that, with again the push down here to the 19-20K range, and then the a month or so worth of time to get back out of the hole, back into where we were, which will probably be in this range, and then bull market within the next few months of that. What's up, Stay Liquid? Good to see you, my friend. Hope all is well. And I'm just kind of chilling. Wanted to do I was gonna do some more trade stuff here, but it looks like we're not really getting much to trade with. Um, we are getting pretty sudden moves. Let me get this back to a 5 minute. The sudden moves are mostly to the downside, and then it's a slow, steady grind to get back our heads above the water. So I'm curious what I'm gonna do. I think I might being that I've adjusted my average entry by adding I pulled some of my trade as profit, and then the rest of it went underwater. I added to my position. What that does is it lowers your average entry, and that'll give me a lower break even. So I might put something right here to delev on the off chance that this range gets checked again, and continuously lower my average entry, basically taking profit off of a portion of my trade. And then ultimately what'll happen is my break even will be down at this level, and then everything I make on top of that will be profit. And if not, then we say we push lower, then I'll have to enact the same strategy. Unless I need to just bail from the trade completely, which is entirely possible. I like this consistent support down here. This wasn't great, which is why I planned an early exit. So I I like this situation a lot more. Obviously, I like to be trading a little more actively, and I don't like being pushed underwater. But that's just the way it goes sometimes, you know. Every trade is a risk, and you have to have a plan for your backup plan and plan for everything. So my plan was to do what I did, and now I'm sitting here a little underwater, but confident that it won't be long before I get back into the green. We're sitting here in the middle of the week. We'll have a couple more days to really see what happens to pick out a direction of the market, and we can uh, we can make better decisions, I think, with more information in terms of price. Uh,
I don't know if anyone's paying attention to the UFC stuff, but man, UFC just got way more interesting 2 weeks from now. Really good stuff. Paulo Costa pulled out of his fight like a bitch. He's so shady. I don't like him at all. He pulled out of his fight, and fortunately, the replacement fighter is Kamaru Usman. That is probably one of the most badass outcomes. What's up, Al Cubes? I can't think of a better fight, man. That is crazy interesting. Obviously, Khamzat should have fought Nate Diaz, and he's been benched ever since. That was his punishment. But man, Khamzat versus Usman, that's badass. And then Oliveira pulled out of his fight with Islam Makhachev, and that fight's been replaced with Volkanovski again, and I really like that fight. I really hope Volkanovski wins because I really don't like the fact that Islam Makhachev is a illegitimate champ to me because he grew up on steroids, and then on top of that, I think Volk beat him, and he's not very active. I don't like the fact that Islam Makhachev is not an active champion. I think champions shouldn't fight twice a year. I think that's dumb. I think a champion, once you have that belt, you should be fighting 3 times a year minimum. So yep, and let's see, we're getting a few green candles here. This looks kind of nice, but we definitely need a bit more bullishness in the area. War definitely is probably depressing, and if price is already depressing, then it adds to that. But yeah, I think we're not in such a depressing time. I think we were in a depressing time when we were grinding that 25K range. That was way worse. This is a far superior area to be a depressing zone. It's a higher low. I mean, a lot of reasons to justify that. LT sup, I don't keep up with MMA as much as I did. Man, it's pretty good. MMA is really good, man. Obviously, there's some problems. You could probably pay the fighters a bit more, and you could probably get some better judges. These judges are really, really compromisable. Probably get more judges. Stuff like that would really help. But other than a couple of these little problems with the UFC, like bad judging for some really high-profile fights, for example, the Islam versus Volkanovski first fight, I think most people would agree Islam won. I mean, Makhachev was just coasting with wrestling. Islam did all the damage. They're not supposed to judge that as control time anymore, especially since he wasn't threatening Volk in any way. It was just so trash of a judgment. And a lot of people believe that was because, well, judges have been making a lot of bad decisions and they get paid very little. I think they get paid maybe $3,000 to $5,000 a night that they're a judge. And so you can pay them probably 20 to 100 G's, probably get a judge to side with you on whatever you want. And so there's a big problem with judges these days, man. And you can say fighters should take the judges out of it, which I do agree with. Should take a couple more risks, but um, yeah, the whole Islam thing, a lot of people believe it was the Abu Dhabi being a big fighting area now, especially because of what they did during COVID. They opened up Fight Island out there and made it a place where fighters can fight and where the UFC could continue. It was actually really, really good. Very beautiful thing that happened. And a lot of people said that the reason why the judges were compromised for that one is because you know, Abu Dhabi wanted a Muslim champ. You know, they needed someone to draw for the Muslim crowd when they host out there. So I honestly think that's within the realm of possibility because there's no way Islam really lost that fight, especially the fifth round, which some at least one of the judges gave the fifth round to Islam, which was just total bullshit. So I'm not a big fan of these judges, and I'm more of the opinion that the judges should be former fighters. They really know what they're talking about. They've been in there, they've done it. So I don't really like some elements of the UFC, you know, especially these high profile fights. Like even on Mexican Independence Day, you had Grasso versus Shevchenko, and one of the judges the judge that basically gave the fight away to Grasso while making it a draw and letting her retain the belt, gave a very controversial 10-8 score on the fifth round, which made absolutely no sense. And there's just so many bad judgments out there. Those are two of the high profile ones that come to mind. There's been tons and tons of bad decisions by the judges. So the UFC is good, man. It's fun to watch every Saturday. In fact, also probably every Tuesday with the Dana White Contender Series. Been a lot of good fights. But yeah. But yeah, some of these fighters can be bits of a bit of a diva, you know? Like if I was a fighter complaining about fighter pay, then I would just try to be more active. I don't know why like these fighters they get paid so little and UFC could probably give them more money, but they fight like 3 times a year and if you're getting paid 10K to fight and an extra 10 to win, then I would be trying to fight every month. Shit, man. I would be unless minus injuries, obviously it takes time to heal. Um, I would be trying to fight as often as possible. Al Cubes, are we cooking something tonight? Probably just gonna eat leftovers of what I made yesterday. I hope you guys enjoyed the cooking video. I did it on my phone and I didn't realize that like there's a bunch of settings like I think comments were disabled and stuff like that. Yeah, so I'll probably do leftovers, but and LT, yeah, the NFL in particular, I am sure the NBA basically like I stopped watching a lot of these sports because they got taken over by referees. You know, the UFC, it's not really the referees that dictate the outcome of the fight, fortunately, but in soccer, in football, in basketball, it went from refs try to stay out of it to everything is a foul, and they get to be selective. And then you have the information coming out, the lifting of the veil, the revelation that football is an entertainment sport, and it's classified in the same category as WWE, which is a straight up, you know, the outcome is 100% uh, predicted. It's already scripted. It's scripted. The outcome is scripted. And now you have that type of talk, and it's known that the NFL is a scripted sport because it's an entertainment sport, and basically referees and coaches can basically be told what's going to happen. I mean, there was a game maybe a month ago or less where the team was down. The losing team should have thrown for a touchdown, and they were down. That touchdown would have given them like a tie or a win, but then they went for the kick, which kept them at a loss. And that was probably one of the most obvious, you know, ploys I've ever seen. It's like, yo, why would you tell your team to kick the ball when the clock is at, you know, the clock's dead, and you score the field goal, you're still losing, and then the game ends. There's 0 point to that. You have to go for the touchdown. And the coach fucking said, "Oh, that was just a mistake. I didn't see the score. I thought that we had more time." Whatever the excuses were, it's just such a trash excuse. There's like everyone has headsets. There's like 200 people on the field. I mean, shit, man. You got like 10 coaches. No way that was an accident, man. That was definitely an inside job. So I'm not a big fan of a lot of these sports, and that's why I like fighting. Fighting, the let's say that the it's about, but let's say that the game, just to sound like consistent across the sports, the game can end in the first 10 seconds as easily as it can end in the final round, third or fifth round, whatever fight it is. It can end by knockout, by submission. It could really end whichever way. You can't tell a ref can't change the outcome of a fight. Once you got two guys locked in a cage, it's on, and anything can happen. Um, so I don't really see fighting getting corrupted like that. You can't really, I know boxing is super corrupt and stuff like that, but UFC, MMA, you got a guy that goes in there, maybe you can get to him and pay him a lot of money or something like that. But I've never really seen it's just going to be so obvious if a fighter goes in there to lose. These guys don't go in there to lose. There's definitely good fighters versus bad fighters. I would say there's definitely feeder fights where you have fights where someone probably has no business fighting his opponent, probably not nearly his skill level, but you know, that's a feeder, and the odds makers know it. They'll give the guy who's expected to win heavy odds, to win, and you won't make much money betting on him. I really hope fighting doesn't get as corrupt, and I don't think it will. I think there's a lot of reasons why I don't think UFC and MMA in general will ever be compromised on the level that a lot of these other sports are, and you could tell because Dana White was super against a lot of the things that went down during COVID, whereas a lot of these other sports, these mainstream sports, were big on the vaccine and stuff like that. It was mandated in the NFL. Then we saw that one guy, Hamlin, drop drop in the middle of the field, and I'm sure there has been a couple. We've seen a lot of them in soccer, in different levels. Oh yeah, seeing it in the World Cup is disappointing. Motorsports, I like the mechanics. Yeah, the World Cup is pretty damn disappointing too. I remember the first one that was just so obviously rigged was that I remember was the Brazil, the one hosted in Brazil. Brazil paid a lot of money to keep Brazil looking good. Um, I remember Brazil ended up losing like 7-0 in the finals, but I remember they got to the dude in the Netherlands. I think it wasn't Van Persie, was it? Maybe it was Van Persie. And I remember there was like he was doing fantastic. He was doing such a good job. Team captain was absolutely killing it for his team. And then you could tell there was a game where someone must have frickin' kidnapped his family and said, "Yo, and you need to lose this. You're not allowed to score another goal in this World Cup." And he just looked like absolute trash the rest of the tournament. And and Brazil had no business in the World Cup quarterfinals and even round of 16. In fact, the first game of the World Cup was Brazil versus Croatia, and the ref pulled like one or two goals from Croatia to make Brazil win. It was the dumbest shit I've ever seen. So the World Cup and a lot of these sports are just so terribly rigged, man. And refs don't make that much money, I'm sure. You know, and there's just so many officials and so many loopholes and so much discretion regarding how to make a call that it's very subjective now. So it's like you can definitely influence a game however you want. In the UFC, you lock a door, two guys go in, one guy comes out. A lot of the fights go to decision though. I really don't like that. I do think that two guys should go in there with the intent to take risks. Really take risks, man, because it's look, you're trying to win, and you shouldn't let a fight go to the judges. You should take that shit, fucking blast some dude and get your money. Yeah, I think the Russia World Cup actually was probably one of the best World Cups in my recent memory. Um, I think that was one of the more fair World Cups I've seen. And the Russian national team did a fantastic job without the use of any like like nefarious tactics. The last World Cup, I didn't even really watch that much of it. I can't say I was a big fan of the last World Cup. I think I watched a little bit of some of the games. I know Argentina won. I can't even remember who they beat. Maybe France. They must have beat France to win. And soccer also in time, and so same with basketball, has become a game of playing for the foul. It's not even fun, to see grown men in peak athletic condition roll around on the ground and fake cry for 30 seconds until a ref shows up and puts the ball on the ground saying you get your foul, and then the guy gets up and starts sprinting like nothing happened. Soccer is just a total fucking pussy sport, man. I really don't like it. I used to play, I grew up playing soccer, huge fan of soccer. I like good soccer. I really think it's a great sport. But over the years, it's just become a game of grown men acting like fucking girls, and I can't stand that shit. And yeah, there's basically not a single women's sport that I can watch with joy. So not even, I don't even really like women's fights in the UFC. The UFC is the only sport organization, maybe MMA in general, is the only sport that makes you watch a woman compete. It's the only sport that makes you watch women compete. If I don't want to watch women's soccer, I can not watch women's soccer. But if I want to watch a UFC fight card, there, if I want to watch a UFC fight card, there's probably a couple women's fights on there, and I have like it's on. I have to watch it. I can go cook while a women's fight is on, or I could take a power nap or something. But for that period of time, there's nothing. But watch women's cycling. I can't say that I'm ever gonna watch any cycling. That is just zero interest to me. I don't really like I like interesting stuff and seeing who can ride a bike for a long time or run for a long time. That's not very interesting to me. But the thing is, you know, women just aren't as good as men. They're just not. They're just not as physically capable as men. If I want to see peak physical competition, I'm not tuning into a women's sport. You watch, I guarantee you, a fucking high school kid with a $50 bike he found half rusted is going to be able to compete against the top women competition. In soccer, they had like national women's teams play against high school teams and get utterly devastated. In fact, high school kids can make women's soccer teams look like they just don't belong, and they don't. Women can do their little stuff off to the side, and if you want to be a fan, go ahead. But if I had a daughter, I would probably show up to her games. Fucking, unfortunately, I remember going to my sister's soccer games, and I was so bored, man. It would be like soccer day every Saturday, probably be my game, and then it'd be my sister's game, or vice versa, something like that. And I would have to watch it. I would have to watch it. And the only thing I cared about was seeing some good-looking girls and talking to them on the sidelines. Nothing else that interested me. So, yeah, I just can't say there's anything that I really enjoy about women's sports, even women's fighting. At least in a man's fight, you can see you can see a knockout and a lot of knockouts amongst men. And I was watching this the other day. They had a little show. I was at the bar and they happened to have some sort of top knockouts in the past 10 years for like 30 minutes or an hour of a UFC top knockouts. I'm looking through it and they were all great knockouts and they were just fucking all men. It was all men. It's probably two female knockouts that I could think of that were good. And the rest of them are just weak women with weak arms punching each other until the judges. And sometimes a woman will get a submission. That does happen. Very, very rarely does a woman get a knockout. I think Molly McCann had a spinning back elbow, and Rose Namajunas head kicked Wei Li, and those are two of the only knockouts that come to mind when I think of women's MMA. Both good knockouts, but a freak occurrence doesn't happen very often. So I can't ever really say that I'm gonna sit there and enjoy a women's competition, physical competition. In fact, women aren't even the best chefs these days. You got fucking the best chefs are like Gordon Ramsay. They like like women are superior to men at giving birth. That's probably it. I'm trying to think what women are the best at, It's cooking, cleaning, I don't know. Definitely not cooking. Ronda Rousey, Rowdy Ronda Rousey, I think she sucked, man. You look at her, she was basically the beginning of women's MMA. She definitely paved the way for women to fight, but if she only knew how to armbar, she was decent. But she was fighting a ton of other women that were absolute trash. So she was just being fed these women, and then the second she fought a woman with some skill, Holly Holm, she got her ass kicked. In fact, yeah, that head kick rings a bell. Holly Holm knocked her ass out, and yeah, I mean, women, I can't say I've ever really been interested. I kind of like Shevchenko, but yo, she's not a great fight. Yo, what's up, Ryan S? We're talking about fighting, man. Just the man to show up. Um, yeah, Ronda Rousey's boring, and grappling is boring. You can ask it like there when you're watching the highlights of the UFC, no one gives a shit about grappling. No one gives a shit about grappling. And Ryan S, I feel great about the UFC is it 294 card? I feel like who Costa pulling out and Oliveira pulling out, though that literally made this card fantastic, dude. You now have a main event with Volk and you have Khamzat fighting Usman. That's so fucking awesome, dude. That fight card got better because these fucking losers pulled out. I think he's gonna get it this time. And I really like the idea of Volk winning. I really like the idea of him winning. I hope he wins. I don't like Islam. I think actually no, I like Islam as a person. I like him in his interviews. A lot of what he does and says is pretty entertaining and I like him. I honestly there's a lot of fighters that I just really don't like how terrible of a person they are or I don't know. I don't like Costa. He backs out a lot, he's such a phony. Um there's a few fighters out there that I just like I really don't like him. I don't like Colby Covington. From all accounts, I hear he's a great guy. I hear he's a really good guy when you meet him in person, but the two-faced stuff that he says, I really dislike that. It's Conor McGregor, the two-faced things that he does. I really don't like him. And yeah, so the reason why I don't like the Islam situation is because A, he's very inactive, and B, because he lost his last fight to Volkanovski. And I agree with you 100%, Ryan, as he lost. The judges were bought and paid for, and they gave the fight to Islam. So, yeah, I really like how this card is shaping out. And then Chimaev versus Usman, that is one hell of a fight, man. That is for real. That is some action right there. Both of them former welterweights moving up to middleweight. I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't think it gives really any excuses to any of the opponents because Usman has been saying he wants to fight Kamaru anyways. So, yo, I think it makes a lot of sense. I really hope Usman gets paid because Usman just did one of the most badass things I've ever seen another man do, which is step up on short notice to a weight class up, gearing up to fight one of the greatest threats to his skills. I think this is gonna be so fucking good, man. I'm so excited. Oh my goodness, Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev. That's probably one of the most exciting fights on the card for me. I want Volk to beat Islam, but I don't want it to go to the distance, and I have a feeling it will. Um, Volk is good, man. He beats a lot of people up. I I really like Volk. A lot of his fights go to the judges, though. I don't think that's good. Yeah, let's see here. Um, Real quick, I was looking at Twitter on my phone right now, and I see a post from BTC Sessions. Really good guy. I like him. And he posted a tweet. It has 27 comments, 2 retweets, and 21 likes. That is the status of crypto Twitter. That's the status of crypto. I mean, dude, boring as shit. 21 likes on a guy that probably could get 300, 400 likes and 1,000 comments. I'm just looking. I looked through Twitter for my general vibe on crypto. Look at really bad, dude. So yeah, um, that just goes into the general sense of crypto in the space. Very weak, very weak. Um, yeah, I really want Wolf to be champ, dude. He'll be active. There's a tweet right now saying that Volkanovski has stated that if he uh, he's still gonna fight at UFC 297, January 20th. That's a G. That's a G mentality right there. Absolute fucking savage. Volkanovski is one of the greatest. He's a goat for sure. Top 5 goat. Let's see here. I'm just talking shit on Twitter. Let's see here. He needs to start finishing people. Who's left at lightweight for Volk anyway? It's boring. I agree. It is boring. He's fought everyone. He's fighting Ilia Topuria in January, and that's kind of interesting. But yeah, dude, Volk has cleaned out the division. There's nothing left for him there. I think he should move up. 100% with you on that, Ryan. Um, Volk belongs with better competition, and I think he's the kind of guy that wants better competition. He certainly has proven it once already. Proven his skills time and time again. So, dude, I think Volk is just an absolute monster, dude. I love Volkanovski. He's a good man. All the things that he does, on his YouTube, and he really, like, if my son was to watch Alexander Volkanovski, I would know he's watching a warrior with noble an honorable, built of like he's a noble man. He's an honorable man, and I think he's like everything I've seen on Volk. He really walks the walk, man. Walks the talk. He lives well. He treats people right, and he does his cooking show, which is kind of funny. Really passionate about that. So I'm a big fan of Volkanovski, and he's a man that wants more of a challenge. I think he's ready to step up to 155. I think he's 100% ready for that. Doesn't Tyson Fury have a fight? Um, yes, Tyson Fury's fighting Francis Ngannou. So, yeah, dude, Volk versus Gaethje would be nasty. Volk versus Poirier, Volk versus Oliveira would be good, because the only reason why every fight is interesting to me for Volk is because he's so well rounded. I would enjoy watching him fight Oliveira. I would enjoy watching him fight Dariush. Anyone at 155 in the top eight is worth a watch to me. Um, Volk versus Gaethje would be absolute fucking just oh my Atlanta. If Volk wins this and he fights Topuria next, and then he vacates his belt, and then he freaking fights Gaethje in March, April, May of next year, that would be one of the craziest fights of all time. Tyson Fury's fighting Francis Ngannou. That's a heavyweight fight. Francis Ngannou left the UFC. Actually, I think Francis Ngannou is a pretty noble man too. I've definitely talked my shit about Francis Ngannou, but the UFC is kind of a. I really think the UFC should pay their fighters more, man. The UFC has so much money coming in, and to keep so much of that, um, they really should give more to their fighters, man. I don't think any of their fighters that have been with the company for a while, 5 years even, 3 years even, heck, 1 year, I think anyone should be getting paid 20K minimum to show up to a fight in the UFC. They're drawing a massive crowd. Every single fight I think is at least worth paying the guy 20 G's. Um, so I really think that the UFC should pay their fighters more. I also think that the fighters should do more to get liked by the public. Um, like Sean O'Malley is a good example of someone that gets paid a lot. He's a good fighter who gets paid a lot and doesn't have to sacrifice of any bit of his soul to get a crowd to like him. He's a funny dude. He's got a sense of humor, and he's just transparent. He has a good time. I think there's a lot of these fighters out there that without a YouTube presence, would they be superstars? I don't know. Maybe Sean O'Malley could be. Conor McGregor clearly was. John Jones, a lot of these guys. But you got to figure out a way to keep yourself interesting, and keep your brand interesting. And after a certain point in time, I think that's on you. So I do agree to a certain extent that, hey, the more popular you are, the more money you make, and the UFC is going to have to accommodate that. But I do think that fighters should be getting paid more money. And why is this a topic? Because that's why Francis Ngannou is no longer with the UFC. They could have paid him more money, and we could have had the man with the heaviest punch on earth fighting John Jones. A good, legitimate championship for the heavyweights. Really could have had a legit heavyweight champion, man. But the UFC lost him because they paid him jack shit for money. Francis Ngannou's gone on, hasn't fought in a very long time, which is interesting. I think if you're gonna be someone that really wants money, though, you should be an active fighter. You shouldn't fight once a year. When Mike Tyson was getting his name, he fought every 2 weeks. He fought sometimes 3 times a month, 2 times a month. If you look at Mike Tyson highlight videos, it will say the date and then it'll show the knockout, which is probably in the first round. And he was fighting every 2 weeks, every month at the very least, and sometimes 3 times in a month. So I think fighters should be prepared to fight a lot more. I really think. And I know they go through a lot, man. I know it's tough. I know you have injuries and I know you go through so much. But look, if I'm trying to make a name for myself and I'm trying to prove that I'm the best in the world, I'm showing up to every fight that I possibly can as often as possible. I think that's what it's about. I don't think it's about fight and then chill for 4 months at the gym and try to hone your skills. Like, yo, you should be honing your skills while fighting. The absolute best. And yeah, even if Volk fights someone like Michael Chandler, then yeah, that's so good, man. That's so good. The Conor McGregor Chandler thing, I saw a tweet the other day about McGregor being in the testing pool. I think it's just McGregor's too rich, man. You can't even talk shit about him because he's just too rich. It would be one thing if he was broken, like Paulo Costa, probably broke and fucking talking all this shit and saying, "Yo, I'm a fighter, I'm a G, and I'm gonna fucking come in there and do work." And then he backs out of fucking, 8 out of 10 of his fights. Postpones them, backs out. How many times has that piece of shit done that type of thing? Paulo Costa is really a trash dude. He's probably not a baller. You know what I mean? Conor McGregor, at least he's living on a Lamborghini super yacht whenever he wants, and he really has earned the right to be able to say, "I'm doing this on my schedule." No one else has really done that. No one else has earned the right to say, "We fight when I say," you know? And everyone else knows their place. Everyone knows that if you fight Conor McGregor, you're getting a payday, you know? Everyone knows the game. So, yeah, I think Ngannou fighting Tyson Fury is a big money fight. I think that's going to be a good one. Uh, I think Ngannou loses, but I have a feeling someone's getting dropped. I think Ngannou goes down. But Ngannou really should be fighting in the PFL where he, signed his deal. I think he should get your payday and all that. Sure, go ahead and I can't be against that. I can't even be against Nate Diaz getting a payday off of Logan Paul, right? Or was it Jake Paul? Jake Paul. Um, and I even kind of respect Jake Paul. Do I watch those fights? No, I don't really care. But I respect, I know Jake Paul is a boxer. I don't respect boxing. There's a superior fighting promotion out there, and it is mixed martial arts, and primarily it's the UFC. And so I don't respect boxing. I think boxing is some one-trick pony shit, and I can't fight. I can't stand behind boxing, man. It's just not interesting to me. Is to watch two guys do a stand-up fight with fat gloves on, and a lot of these boxing fights go the distance too. It's not interesting to me. I want to see knockouts. I want to see two dudes go in there, give it their all, and I want to see one dude standing above a fucking limp corpse, dude. That's what fighting is about to me. If you're on the street and you're fighting someone, the fight is not over until someone is fucking unconscious. And that's what I expect to see in a fight. So I can't watch boxing because there's no other skills involved than hiding your head and using the back of your head as a defense mechanism, which is absolute off the table in the street. And a stand-up fight with some great punches for sure. You know, I would not want to get punched by a half decent boxer. Can't say I'd want to get punched by Jake Paul even, but you know, it's a one-trick pony event. MMA is the whole thing. Jake Paul goes into an octagon to fight Diaz. Well, guess what, man? Diaz fucking takes the bag in 30 seconds, dude. In fact, Nate Diaz does it when he wants to. He might want to play with his food a little bit, but that's exactly what Jake Paul would be, just some food. Um, so anyways, I think Francis Ngannou should get his payday, and he shouldn't take so long. The second he got out the UFC and got into the PFL, he should have been planning a move 3 months from then. He shouldn't have been sitting out for so long. I really don't like fighters sitting out for as long as they do. That's what I'm against. I don't think you should be taking that much time between fights, and you shouldn't be getting injured all that often. And if you are getting injured, then train fucking differently. You know, get some fucking acupuncture from a sacred fucking lady from an ancient tribe in China. Get some acupuncture, change your diet, fucking cut out the surgeries, you know, get fucking proper body healing treatments. I'm not a big fan of all this very long-term stuff, man. Anyways, what Ryan S saying, I'd like to see O'Malley fight Dvalishvili. Um, I can't say. Look, I think Sean O'Malley gets to pick who he fights to a degree. I think Aljo deserves the next fight. I think Dvalishvili probably deserves it the least. Aljo should deserve it the least too, though. That's the big thing. Aljo keeps saying, "I'm going up. I'm going up." Aljo should have gone up. I think without the like, look at Kamaru Usman. He loses the belt, loses the rematch, and now he's fighting at 185. I think that's so much better. I think Aljo should have won the belt if he defended the belt, and then I think he should have gone up. Um, I think Aljo should have moved up to one 145. And the fact that he's trying to be a ghost and linger in that division is kind of dumb to me. But I must say I do like Aljo. I think he's a good dude. I think he's had some cringy moments, but who hasn't, you know? I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's a good guy, and I would love to see Aljo fight again. I think he was an active champion, which I highly, highly respect. Um, so I think Aljo deserves the rematch. I think he deserves it, and I would be bitching too, to be honest. It's a big money fight, and he lost in an entertaining fashion. He didn't make the fight boring. Not saying that he could have scored the takedown. He did try a couple times, and O'Malley broke free. But for all we know, Alja's game plan could have just been smear and boring and clinch, and he could have won by scorecard. Aljo came out there and he tried to, you know, try to take his time and keep it on the feet a little bit. I have to say, I respect Aljo for his fight against O'Malley. Like 2 times he tried for the takedown and O'Malley defended them perfectly. So I give mad respect to O'Malley for that because Aljo was able to get Henry Cejudo on his back, you know, is able to put Henry Cejudo on the ground. That I totally respect Aljo's skills as a wrestler, and I also respect the fact that he knows wrestling is boring. So he tried to keep the fight standing. I bet you if Aljo really tried, he could have taken Sean O'Malley down. I bet you if his game plan was smear and fucking make it boring and sniff crotch, he could have done it. I really do. Peter Yan did it. So yeah, look, I think Aljo has a rightful shot at the title for the rematch. I think he should probably have moved up to the next weight class. That was probably his best move. Aljo's best move would have been to move up a weight class because I know he kept talking about it. Um, so yeah, I think Aljo deserves a rematch, and I think he did everything right to deserve it. I still think there's a good bit of money on that fight. There's probably no money on Dvalishvili. There's definitely a crowd interest um, and Sean O'Malley's interest on Chito Vera. I think that makes a lot of sense too because I don't think I actually agree with Sean. He didn't really lose to Chito Vera. Chito Vera didn't win. Sean O'Malley lost, but Chito Vera didn't win. Drop foot is a freak accident. It happens, and I don't think that Chito Vera gets to walk around saying I beat Sean O'Malley. I wouldn't feel proud of that. I wouldn't feel proud. I want to beat a man at his best. And I see someone like Sean O'Malley get drop foot in the first or second round, whatever it was. That's not beating a man at his best, and that wasn't a skill shot. You didn't skill shot a fucking nerve damaging shot to the foot. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, look, I've been playing pool, right? And the rule is you have to call your shot. And if it bounces off another ball and it goes in, you didn't call that combo, then it's the next guy's turn. There's no honor in a luck shot in pool. I think a similar concept goes for the UFC. Like that was a freak accident. If he leg kicked Sean O'Malley to death and Sean O'Malley couldn't put any pressure on his leg because it was in excruciating pain and Chito Vera annihilated that muscle zone and that area, and then absolutely, man, all fucking respect to Chito Vera. Sean O'Malley didn't have an answer to those kicks. He didn't check them, whatever. He didn't have an answer, and Chito Vera takes that W. But Chito Vera won by a freak accident, putting Sean on his back because he couldn't walk, and that's a unique situation. So, yeah. Um, I think Aljo should get the chance to put this one back, and if he doesn't, I think it should be Cheeto, and then Dvalishvili. He fucked up. I think that whole camp really fucked themselves over. I think Dvalishvili should have fought Aljo, or he should have pushed for that. Dvalishvili, he's a nice guy, and they have morals and principles, but you can have morals and principles in the gym, but when it comes to providing entertainment for the crowd, that is your number one obligation once you are in the UFC. The second you make it your profession to fight, you're probably going to have to fight people you don't hate, people you respect, and even people you like. It's an entertainment, it's not an entertainment sport by the same classification that the NFL is or anything like that. But look, it's for entertainment. You want to fight to make the most money you possibly can. The UFC is going to pair people with the best odds of making the most money. And if you're not doing that as a fighter, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. And I do agree with the controversy there. Marab should get the next shot, being the number one contender, number two now that Aljo's off the horse. But I think he should have fucking. I think they shouldn't have been afraid to fight each other. Aljo versus Dvalishvili should have been on the table, and I think that would have made Dvalishvili in a better position to be able to come to say he has a shot at the title. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Dvalishvili, man. He kind of shot himself in the foot. He should have been there, and Aljo should have agreed. We're brothers. We're gonna laugh and hug, and we're gonna make this money together. We're gonna do this together. I want you to punch me in the face as hard as you can. I'm gonna punch you in the face as hard as I can. That bell sounds, and I want to see who's the better fighter. You know, that's what fighting really is about. I've fought my friends. Can't say it was for blood or anything like that, but I fought one of my best friends. He was a guy that I really enjoyed being around. A really good, gentle human being, and an energizer bunny of a fighter. This dude was Russian as well. He was the next down from the sensei. He was one of the senpais, and he was about my age. Obviously still is. But he was a teacher there. He trained all day. He would train the kids in the morning, kids in the afternoon, kids in the before and after school, the adults in the early morning at 6 a.m. he would train kickboxing and karate. I remember when I fought this guy, and again, it wasn't like a legit fight. It was a spar. It was a hard spar. And when I fought him, I was like blown away, dude. And I gave him my all, dude. I'm talking when I kicked, I fucking kicked hard. When I punched hard. Um, and when he, but and I remember he was just trying to be nice about it. This is actually kind of funny. He was so good, man. And it was almost like he had been fighting for so long and training with people that are below him that he was so used to like just being gentle, you know. And I remember that look in his eye, it changed when I kicked him as hard as I could and I threw like a body kick. And it knocked him back a couple steps and he realized it was on, you know. And I was like, this wasn't a fucking, this wasn't a slow-mo spar. This was like going hard. I remember how fucking, you know, this guy would have whooped my ass in a real fight, dude. He would have whipped my ass. I fucking would have gassed out. The second he turned on the gas once I threw that kick, and he realized that I wasn't here to fucking, you know, like I looked at him as an adversary, a legitimate adversary. I wasn't there to just entertain some soft fucking moves. I wanted to rip this dude, you know, like for the fight, for the sake of seeing who's better. And yo, I brought the dog out in him, and I saw that he could have annihilated me. He definitely threw some shit, definitely wobbled me. But you know, obviously since it's between friends, it just doesn't go to that crazy point. It stops right before that. And he would have absolutely annihilated me. When I started breathing hard, he didn't even fucking look like anything was happening to him. He might as well have been Michael Phelps with his cardio, man. But yeah, all I'm saying is I threw what I had at him and he threw it right back and harder. And that was between friends and we still love each other. We still went out for drinks. We still went out and played pool. We still went out, you know, and hung out. Still a dear friend to this day, you know, and a fight didn't change that. A competition didn't change that. Yo, what's up, Phil C? Al Cubes. All right, back on the crypto talk. Good to get some questions. Thank you for tuning in, Phil C. And Al Cubes, we'll get to that in just a sec. So, expect more downside, you asked, Phil. And the answer is no. I do not expect more downside. Right now, I don't expect it. Look, there's definitely some turbulence. The perps are bearish, ever so slightly. I don't like it. Spot is bullish. I'm really not a fan of what we have here. If we do get a full retrace of this and perps remain bearish, I'm exiting my position in full and I'm waiting for a new position. Um, so I don't expect more downside. If perps don't flip, then I exit my position at break even. If perps do flip, then I'm confident this is the bottom and we're headed back to 28K and to test the channel that we're in, which is currently just a moving channel between moving averages. So that's what I see happening right now, and I don't expect more downside. But please, if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to ask, because I'm just chilling right now, so we're going to talk about whatever, and obviously I could talk about a lot of shit all day, but I can't do it about price, man. They're just, you can break down price in 5 minutes, you know? Any other questions, Phil, don't hesitate to ask, and anyone who's tuned in, do not hesitate to ask. I want to talk about more things, but it's I go off of what the vibe is, and if there is no vibe, then we go off of what's in my head, and you know, shit. Um, Probably fights, but yeah. So Manny Pacquiao is an excellent boxer. I agree, excellent boxer. He was fantastic in his day. Um, I think he's probably a little old now, but I used to love Manny Pacquiao. He was a great boxer. Miguel Cotto. That was a great fight. That was a great fight. You're welcome, Phil. And yeah, there's been some great fights out there, man. Been some fantastic fights. Some good boxing matches out there. But yeah, again, I don't think boxing is the superior martial art. If anything, it would be like Thai kickboxing. Elbows, kicks, knees. I mean, that's far more interesting to me than boxing. Um, yeah, I really can't say I enjoy boxing anymore, but I will watch like some boxing highlights and I'll say, man, there's some great fights. There's some great knockouts. Some great fights that have been there, but there's a superior combat sport now and it's mixed martial arts. So yep, let's see what happens here. Let's see here. Boxing highlights are so good because it shows you the best parts of 12 rounds. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Even MMA highlights are good. I mean, the thing about a MMA fight is I'll probably watch the whole thing because I like to see how positions were set up and how people accomplished what. Um, so I would more likely watch a full fight than I'll watch a full boxing match. Um, I'm just not as interested in a boxing match, dude. Yeah, what you said, Ryan S. Bobbing and weaving for bobbing and weaving for 30 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever it comes out to. It's just not interesting to me. I didn't even watch the Diaz versus Paul fight. Haven't even watched highlights. I might have seen a couple in as I scroll through the internet, but they're not even memorable to me. Not interesting, man. So yeah, I don't know. I like watching MMA. I really like the UFC. I want to get into some other promotions like One Championship and PFL. Probably just need to figure out where they air and I'll be able to watch them. But yeah, it's you know, one of those things, man. I gotta say MMA is it. MMA is it. So yeah, what do we got, guys? UFC 294 card is looking real good. That's all I gotta say. Happy about that shit. You know what? It might be time for me to eat. I might want to heat some stuff up. Heat up what I made yesterday. I made a lot of food yesterday, so I'll just eat the leftovers. And then I'm out of tortillas, so I'll probably just throw a couple eggs in there, make some Mexican fried rice. And yeah. SEC has to respond to grayscale by Friday. Um, I don't really know enough about what's going on with the SEC and grayscale. I don't know enough at all. So, no comment. I'm assuming it has to do with an ETF. And I don't really like, I think people need a reason to be bullish. Obviously, it helps. I don't see much changing the landscape there with the ETF. Obviously, more demand is good, and for purchasing a physical Bitcoin is good. But the SEC thing is such old news, man. That's been around since probably before 2017. But 2017 is when I got into crypto, 2 feet in the water, and that was the talk of the town. And it's no longer the talk of, it's just old news now. So I guess I'm curious, and maybe it could be cause for a little pump. Let's see what happens. Maybe a little dump. But I think the SEC news is as drawn out as the Chinese ban on Bitcoin was. How many times did that have a massive candle effect in 2018, and then before too long it was just worthless news, and China did what they did. Okay, so but it's interesting, Phil. I'm not trying to dismiss your point there. It's just giving you my thoughts on it. It doesn't really. It's not like wild news. Like to me, the halving is big. The halving is big. We need something big to get us out of the hole. What could be a big event that gets us out of the hole? Bitcoin being talked about, another big company accepting Bitcoin payments. Um, Another country adopting the Bitcoin standard. There's a few things that could happen that are really good. You know what? I might cook while I talk here. Okay, brother. Thanks. I think I'm gonna cook while I talk, just heat up this food because I would just be quiet anyways. So let's oh wait, there might have been a Discord. No, it looks like I responded to those. Okay, so let me pull up YouTube on my phone and yeah. I don't know if you guys ever do microdosing, but I strongly recommend microdosing. If you guys want to talk about that, we can talk about microdosing and focusing on the pursuit of the mastery of yourself. I'm a big, big fan of microdosing, big fan of reading the Bible. There's a few things in life that make you a lot stronger, and I think if you guys are doing some of these things, you'll notice the difference pretty early on. But yeah, I took a pretty big microdose, so I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. All right, let's get my pan. Got my cast iron pan out. I did a cooking show yesterday. I don't know if any of you guys care that much, but did a nice little cooking show. Made some nice food. Gonna reheat that today. Like I said, I'm out of tortillas. Unfortunately, you know what? I'm gonna do eggs on the side if I do eggs. For now, it's gonna be meat and cheese. That's the plan. Meat, rice, cheese. No tortillas. You know what? I could probably make some tortillas though. If I really wanted to, I could make tortillas. Um, that's gonna be a bit of a process right now, so scratch that idea. Um, Dorsey is a big fan of microdosing. Interesting. Yeah, I gotta say, man, I'm not a big fan of Dorsey. I don't like him that much. He sold his soul. He, you know, look, we all know where I stand at least on all the COVID shit, and I think a lot of people um, had the opportunity to make the world a even field, from these Satanists and people like Dorsey. I can't really respect them because they chose to cower. And you look, what would I do if someone had you know, it's not even a gun to my head I care about. I'm gonna live until I die, and that's the truth for all of us. But what I care about most, and what the enemy would probably do, is go after what I care about most. So can I completely despise someone for making a decision where I don't know all the details? Absolutely not. But what I can do is say, I don't like the guy. I don't like the fact that Twitter was telling, and a lot of things, Facebook is a huge one. YouTube, we all know what happened to me, right? I got shut down. So there's a lot of stuff out there where truth should be, I think the most value to humanity is more truth, more exploration of the unknown, philosophical truth, spiritual truth, scientific truth, mathematical truth. Biological truth. There's so many things that can help humanity ascend to a much, much greater level. We should be flying cars right now. We should be living in sky cities. And we should be using fucking Nikola Tesla technology. Everyone should have free, unlimited wireless electricity. Everyone should be have a full belly if they want one, other than the intermittent fasting that people would probably choose. I really don't like what has happened through the weaponization of truth, the gatekeepers of truth using their gatekeeping as a weapon against the betterment of mankind. Humans deserve better. We deserve to evolve. Very sad to me that there are active enemies trying to prevent that from happening. What's the worst case scenario if more people are better? Honestly, life just gets better for everyone. It's sad to me. I really am for the betterment of humanity. I truly am. I think there's a lot that can be done to make the world a better place. And unfortunately, the people in charge really don't want that to happen. They, in fact, want to keep us enslaved and fighting each other and distracted. And it's a very unfortunate situation that we live in now. We should not have to live like this. We deserve more. We deserve more. I'm very sad. It's just sad to me. No kid should have to be dying, you know. No kid should be getting bombed. No parent should ever see their kid die, especially not like what's happening in the world. And it's not just what happened because of over the weekend, it's everywhere. It's been happening everywhere. It's been happening every day. The US is probably one of the most evil countries on the planet. Probably bombing more kids than any other government ever has. The United States is probably responsible for more innocent deaths than any other empire that probably ever existed, would be my guess. And I honestly don't think I'm far off. If it's not in first place, it would certainly be in second. I bet you anything. We are probably responsible for more civilian death than anyone else. And it's a very sad situation. I really don't like it. I think humans deserve better, man. As a species, I think we would be so much farther ahead than where we are now if there weren't elites, shadow government elites, intentionally, purposefully restricting us to the most basic fucking survival capabilities. We're so distracted, man. Even me, I get mad, right? I say some shit. I say some shit that I don't mean when I look at it with a broad mind, with a bigger picture mindset. Because that's exactly what people want me to do. The elites don't want me and you to live in peace. They want us to fight each other and argue and take the focus off of them while they carry on their evil satanic ways. Yeah, and you know what? Phil C says we deserve the hate we get from the world. I agree. Every single person that allows these small shadowy elites to do the things that they do is a coward, myself included. I'm a coward. I don't I don't do anything to change the fact that these nasty fucking satanic elites are out there killing kids. I sit here and I tell you it makes me sad. I'm a fucking pussy. And look, I'm not saying that as a joke. I truly mean what I say. And the US deserves the hate that it gets. The US citizens deserve the hate that they get because each one of us is complicit in the crimes of our government. Yeah, maybe we aren't strong enough or not organized enough as people, but look, we're at fault in part at the very least, and it saddens me. But that's a sad truth. Every single person is a coward, and for allowing these things to transpire. And what's even worse, some people are not only cowards, but they're even worse. They're actively complicit and supporting these policies and agendas, you know, at the very least, disagree, rebel, some way, shape, or form. That's better than doing absolutely nothing, which is what 99.9% of people do. I mean, people still think Biden won an election. People still think, whatever. People still think the world is, that the government it cares for them. People still think that masks work. People still think the shot saves lives. Yeah, so some people I think are more responsible than others. At least some people are waking up to the truth. But at the end of the day, the sad reality is I'm a coward because I'm aware of the truth and I do nothing about it. Yeah, I often say that I'm a proud but pissed American. Proud for a lot of the things that we stand for. Very sad for the number of things that we allow our evil, corrupt government to do. Very sad. So LT, when you're not into the sick, disgusting stuff, you don't look for it. When I discovered that everyone on Twitter was, it was disturbing. Yeah, that is true. Because that sells and everyone's trying to get clicks. Everyone is trying to get likes. Everyone wants to be an influencer. Everyone wants to be famous. And that's just the truth, right? So they're going to say and do whatever they need to in order to accomplish that goal. And for some, that includes selling their soul. I think a lot of people sell their soul by being vague and loose in their statements, being, defensive in their positions. Look, you guys have known me for a long time. I don't think I've ever really been passive about something, like that matters. Even about the conflict that's going on right now, I'm not passive about it. I just understand it. I've never say things that are growth hacky and vague. Oh, people shouldn't get this. What do you think? No, I say people shouldn't get this. Here's the reason why, and fuck you if you're wrong, because you are. I would rather fucking be that than a piece of shit trying to dance around the fact that I need to get likes and stuff in order to validate my existence. That's fucking bullshit. So many of these fucking pussies out there, man. I really don't like it. There are so many fucking growth hacky pussies out there, and it's all a business, and yeah, they do what they gotta do, but they're fucking pussies at the end of the day. That's just the truth. And I just can't say that that's ever been the type of person I'll be. Oh, some vague question on a hot topic. Yo, pick a side, motherfucker. Now, obviously, I'm not contradicting myself when I say, as far as what's going on in Israel right now, the reason why I'm not picking a side is because the side isn't left or right. It's center. It usually is. It's not, you don't need to be vague or any of that. You just need to be honest. The honest truth is, well, there's been shots fired on both sides for decades or longer, potentially centuries. This attack was terrible. I don't believe that innocent people should ever be in the line of fire, or even, I don't think a general of an army should ever look at a scenario where civilians are likely to be caught in a crossfire and say this is acceptable. And I don't think that an enemy should ever hide behind their civilians. I think there's a lot of dishonor, amongst men these days. Very few honorable men left. Very few honorable men left. I think you have a few out there, and all the most honorable men are getting shot down. Um, the Tates, the funny thing about Tristan Tate, the only reason why he went to jail was for being Andrew Tate's brother. The only reason you know, the only reason he got his accounts deleted and stuff. Like, what are the charges? It's just so fucking crazy, man. So, then you have Russell Brand talking a lot about over the past couple years, and in fact, for a long time, Brand has been, I think, a legitimate voice of reason. He started talking about the Illuminati, and not long after all that, his girlfriend Katy Perry got MK Ultra'd, and now she's a total fucking, she's gone, man. Her mind is gone to the Matrix. She got owned. I remember he came out with a picture of a Masonic seal, and that was probably the last straw. They ended up taking his girl and fucking damaging her permanently, man. Now she's a fucking agent. And most of these people never really wanted this stuff, you know? They just wanted to sing their hearts out, be popular, make money. It's a sad world, man. Um, the groomer stuff. Sure. What were you referring to, Phil, LT? Um, oh yeah, that groomer, that, like yeah, that whole satanic agenda, transgender movement, satanic agenda up there. That's disgusting. Look, I don't believe in the whole gay thing. I will not openly hate someone that's gay. In fact, I think it's you shouldn't openly hate anyone. So I have gay friends, you know, I'll sit at a table with gay people and eat, you know. Will I agree with them for being gay? You know, is there do I don't believe it's I believe it is an anomaly, you know. At the end of the day, the truth is being homosexual is an anomaly. If it wasn't an anomaly, then everyone would be gay. So that's what makes it an anomaly. You must have males and females reproduce in order to propagate the species, the survival of the species. And therefore, homosexuality is an abnormality of that norm. Now, is it something that should be hated because, you know, can wires get crisscrossed? Sure, they can get crisscrossed, you know. There's definitely kids born with problems, you know, with missing arms and legs. What's to say that they don't have a screw loose in their brain, you know? So I don't hate. I don't hate. But this groomer stuff is pure evil. That is pure fucking evil. That is that I hate. I will fucking Fred. That is unacceptable to me. And yeah, you know, that's pretty much my overall thoughts on that. I want to be a good man. I want to face on Judgment Day Jesus Christ and my Father in heaven. And I want to get, you know, the least amount of fucking shit that I can. I mean, I'm a sinner. I'm a piece of shit. But, you know, I'm unworthy. But if I do my best that I can, there's a small possibility that I'll get up there and I'll have a few less bad things to be told by my judge, by my creator. Maybe I won't get the full beat down, you know? I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be like, but I can tell you what, man. I definitely want to do as many good things as I can because I know where I'm going to end up. I'm going to die at some point in the future, and I'm going to end up standing before my maker sometime after that. Love what God loves, hate what God hates. All right. Looks like I'm just cutting up my last bits of food here. I'm going to eat. I mean, I don't think there's a point in leaving the stream going. I would be better off just starting a new one later, so I'm going to cut the stream while I eat. And if I jump back in, I hope to see you guys. I hope you guys are all staying strong, true to yourselves, true to the people you love, and in constant pursuit of the mastery of yourselves. Again, we have a destination, and in this life, it's gonna end the same for every single person. So I hope you guys are in constant pursuit of the mastery of yourselves, because we're all going to the same place. So I love you all. I wish you all the best, and I look forward to seeing you probably soon. All right, take care, peeps. Peace.